Hello guys, good day. This is Anna of Reinforcement Club, your fellow positive reinforcer. Today we're going to talk about changing behavior. Why your brain fights you every time you try to make a change. It could be, learning a new skill, when you just got hired in a new environment, new job. So it's time to adapt. You have to go through a process in order for you to be part of it. Or it could be you want to change your behavior which you think it's no longer serving you. Like for example, you want to revise your diet because you keep eating takeaways. Now this time you decided to be healthy. You want to be mindful, the things that you put in your mouth, into your tummy. So you want to eat healthy food. It's just one day that you decided to be that kind of person, to be a healthy person, because you're already disgusted about your old behavior. And to some stories of some people, substance abuse. Why it's hard to change. Our brain prioritizes survival, not self-improvement. So no matter even, how bad it is for you, once you already get used to it, it's still hard to take it away from you. It's hard to change. Brain avoids danger and conserves energy, and you're comfortable doing it over and over again, even if if it doesn't serve you anymore, or it's bad for you. Change means risky, even if it's good for you, because it is you got used to what is known and familiar to you. So by the time you started a new job in a new department, you have to get along with people. You have to you have to practice on how the way people do your job in that particular company. It's a new environment, new adjustment. Or let's just say you decided to be healthy. As I've mentioned earlier, you want to eat healthy and you want to go to the gym regularly. And you've never been, you haven't thought about being healthy all your life. It's just suddenly it pops up and then, you decided to be one for a good reason. Now, starting that new habit, that identity, you have to go through a process. And in some point, there could be times that your mind will be, is resistant to that new habit that you want to implement, which you think it's good for you. Habits are wired for efficiency. Once you get used to it, once you get used to the taste of takeaway foods, like for example, you keep ordering foods takeaway because you're busy, you have no time to cook. So that habit becomes automatic, the taste of it. It's just one call away. It's a no-brainer kind of thing that you just have to call and then you're going to get your food in 15 or 20 minutes or even less. And once that easy habit becomes automatic, it becomes default when it is already submitted to the part of the brain, the habit center, which is the basal ganglia. Now, when you try to change or when you try to practice a new skill or new routine, it's normal that your body will be struggling, will be initially resistant to it because it demands a conscious effort that you really got to do this. It demands energy. It requires you to fight the old behavior that you get used to, which is way easier than this new one. You know what I mean? That's why change is hard sometimes. But for you and me to be able to improve ourselves, we got to decide which hard we want to venture. It's hard to be not healthy. And it's hard to be healthy. It's the same story, but different outcome. The other one could be, make your life detrimental. And the other option could prolong your life. And dopamine drives your cravings. Comfort, distractions, pleasure. You're addicted. You're a workaholic or alcoholic. Even as I mentioned earlier, even if it's bad for you, once you get used to it and you're hooked to that kind of dopamine, your brain remembers that rush that you'll be looking for a drink or let's just say smoke. You got used to smoking. You'll be looking for a cigarette every time you get stressed, every time you're having a good day. the rush of it, you can't control. You have to look for it. Because that rush triggers the cravings, pushing you to repeat that behavior, even the old behavior, over and over again, even if it's bad for you. Another thing is that psychologically, our identity reinforces our habits. Our self-image, like, for example, I tell myself, I am bad. I'm a bad in exercising. I'm a procrastinator. I cancel my plans the last minute. I am that kind of person. It's not good. It's not good all the time. Well, it can be good for you sometimes when you want to wean yourself technologically, when you have priorities. It's all right to say no. But being a procrastinator, think about it. What could you get out from it in the long run? So, or even the positive ones. You can tell to yourself, I'm a healthy person. I am mindful to what I eat, and I do exercise regularly. So you attach an identity to yourself. Or you could even say, I'm a smoker. I'm a chain smoker. I smoke all the time, and I can't live without it. So, yeah, it then gonna end up that you are indeed a smoker. Your brain fights to maintain that consistency, that habit that you think you are. And like, for example, if you want to stop smoking, you have to rewire your brain again into, I am that person who never smoke. Who stopped smoking, or it's way better to, I am that kind of person who stopped smoking, and I will never smoke again, ever. And to practice that, it takes a while for you to fight. You'll be struggling to fight the old habits, the cravings, the rush. When you're stressed, that you're gonna find you have that kind of feeling that you're looking for that stick, that cigarette, that you'll be trembling. You'll be excited to look for that cigarette wherever it is, but you have decided to stop. So you find a way. You can find a way to get a replacement. Eat some gum. Other people, they put some nicotine. The thing that they put on the gum. So you can find replacement out from that habit. Because you have decided not to smoke anymore, and that takes time. Your brain takes time to get a rewire, to rewire itself, to rewire that new habit, that new routine, erase the old one. And sometimes you have to fight. You have to fight the old one because in some point, stress strengthens the old patterns. The way when we're under pressure, and like we're depressed, we're not having a good day. We got into a fight or conflict that hasn't been resolved. Our brain defaults to the familiar pathways that it's easier, to look for that comfort, that old comfort zone that we got used to. But then it confuses us in some point because, like, for example, smoking, we decided to stop smoking, and it's a hell of a fight. But you got to face it. Nobody will ever face that fight for you, just you. Old habits relapse when you're tired, anxious, or overwhelmed. But it's still, at the end of the day, it's still going to be your decision to go back, to relapse, or stick. Be adamant to your decision to stop the old patterns, to stop the old habit. It's still up to you. And rewiring takes time. When you decided to change your ways, you don't want to be a cheater anymore. You want to stop smoking. You don't want to be smoking anymore. You want to stop drinking. It does take time. With all the, invitations that you have to say no, with all the, temptations, it requires you to fight until you finally win the new you. And in the most part, if you decided to change, it's important to change your identity, your self-image first. Like for example, you want to stop smoking. you've decided to stop smoking because for some good reason, you want to be healthy, you want to reach 80 years old, or it could be you want to stop smoking because you're pregnant. You want to stop smoking because you still want to get to that point that you'll be present in your daughter's wedding. 10, 15 years from now, you want to be present throughout the life of your children. You want to be present. And since you decided to be present, so you have to be healthy. You have to look after yourself. So it's a long-term goal which really demands you to decide now. And the value that you're getting to that change outweighs the value of this, this reward that you can get from smoking. This or the instant reward. The value that you get from the long term outweighs the value of what you can get from alcohol, smoking, bad diets, sedentary lifestyle. If you want something long term, you got to decide to change as soon as now. So, when you decided to change your identity, that you no longer want to smoke anymore, you want to be healthy, you want to exercise regularly, and that requires you then to fight your old ways. Plus, it's important to make yourself a new routine and repeat it over and over again with patience to the point that your new habit, your new routine becomes just natural. And that takes time and effort and fight against the old behaviors. And it's also important to reward yourself, celebrate your small wins while you're on your way to your new self. And this is also important. When you decided to change, it's also, changing your environment also helps. You don't want to, if you ever start changing your habit, like smoking habit, you don't want to be a smoker anymore. So you stay away from the smoking areas. You stay away when your friend starts telling you, let's go to the smoking area. You're going to get tempted when you say yes. So you just have to decline nicely, respectfully. And in the most part, it's important. It's also, you have to be patient to yourself. We all have to be patient with ourselves. To the point that, we could finally get what we want. Our goals, no matter what it is, it requires consistency, persistence, and patience. Even changing our own lives. So don't be hard on yourself. I hope I shared something valuable today, though. If you ever love this episode, you can follow me in YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, even in X. You can even share this to your family and friends. I do appreciate your time, listening to me somehow. And have a good day. Thank you very much.